to our Fireside Chat on Inspire, Measure, and Improve customer loyalty by delivering value with instant payments. The session will be moderated by Ms. Pallvi Goyal, Associate Director, PwC India, and joining us as our speakers are Mr. Jitesh, Malik, Director, Digital Payments and Loyalty Program, Prudential. May I also present to you Mr. KV Dipu, President, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, Mr. Milind, Pathak, Chief Business Officer, Route Mobile, and of course, may I now hand over to our moderator, Ms. Pallvi Goyal.
Opportunity. Hope I am visible and audible. So, okay. Hi everyone. So, I would like to welcome my panelists and the audience on this interesting session. So, topic at hand is inspiring, measuring, and improving the customer loyalty by delivering the payments experience. So this is quite an interesting topic, I feel, and a very relevant one in the current scenario, right? So to start with, probably we'll first focus on the customer loyalty, how it has changed, what exactly is this, and how do we measure them, and then we will probably shift to the payments aspect of it, like how does payment experience impact the customer loyalty part of it, right? So the first part on the customer loyalty. So what exactly is customer loyalty? As we know, customer today's have like endless choices, and for them, switching to the competitor is literally like a click away, right? And how does brand ensure the customer loyalty? What are the kind of initiatives which are being undertaken by by various brands and companies, right? And moreover, with the recent COVID scenario, the entire shift has happened from physical world to the digital world. So how has it impacted the customer loyalty, right? So with that as a background, probably I'll invite my panelists to give their perspective on the customer loyalty from their business context perspective, because the panelists are from different segments or different, and they are catering to different use cases. So probably I'll start with you, Mr. Dipu, that how has customer loyalty been in the general insurance with the change with the COVID scenario? What are the recent changes or initiatives undertaken by Bajaj Allianz? If you can give your perspectives around that.
Yeah. Thank you, Pallavi, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. When you look at loyalty, from the perspective of general insurance, it goes without saying that retaining a customer is a win-win for the customer as well as for the firm, right? The studies which show that if you acquire a new customer, it can cost you 7 to 9 times more. And in fact, there's even been a study by prominent firm which shows that acquiring cost can go up from 15.8% 17.9%. And a lot of firms lose around 16% of their base. So from that perspective, it's a no-brainer that loyalty is rewarding. Now, coming specifically to your query, Pallavi, in terms of what are some of the strategies which have been adopted, and especially in the context of COVID-19. So what happened during COVID-19 is that the customer footprint became far more digital, and therefore there was a lot of availability of data which helps the customer, because then you get to know more about the customer, and from a firm's perspective, you're able to then use it to increase your personalization rate. And personalization is a strategy which lies at the heart of loyalty. In fact, 60% of firms have reported revenue increase after launching personalization, and 81% of firms have shown a higher retention rate. So that's clearly one angle. How do you personalize at scale? I think that's the beauty of doing it digitally. The second is how do you bring in value adds? A lot of you may have heard of telematics. So that's one way by which you're able to reward the customer. The other is, you look at rewards, right, for healthy lifestyle. You have firms like Vitality in the UK and Oscar in the US, whereby you give customers, rewards for a healthy lifestyle. So that's again, way by which, increase your loyalty. The third is by leveraging data. You're also able to give data-driven products, right? So there is an interesting, model in the US. So what happens is, this firm collects data from, a lot of customers, in terms of variables data, and then using that, they're able to come out with real-time analysis, and based on that, they'll give suggestions for products. So it becomes a win-win for customers, as well as for firms. So these are some of the strategies that firms have deployed, and I just gave you some numbers as well in terms of how during the COVID-19 period, by leveraging data, we've been able to enhance customer loyalty.
Okay. Quite interesting views on that, Dipu. So I heard that personalization, rewards, and using data monetization schemes are some of the key areas where.
Pallavi, I'm done. You heard me, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello? Uh, Hello? Am I audible? Okay.
Yeah, Pallavi, you're audible to me at least.
Okay, great. Great. So with
Right.
that context, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Okay, sure. So with that as the context, probably I'll also like to invite Jitesh. Since you are also in a very similar segment, and insurance business, especially say Prudential, was dealing with probably a lot of agent base or bank branches. But with the COVID, probably the entire shift has happened from from the physical world to the digital world. So there would have been a transformation journey, and COVID, I'm not sure whether it has accelerated the journey towards that or it has impacted the customer loyalty from the customer perspective. So with that as a context, if you can give some insights on your transformation journey in terms of how you improve the customer loyalty, what are the kind of initiatives which Prudential has taken. Over to you, Jitesh. You are on mute.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Very much honored to be joining the stage with Dipu as well as Milind, and thanks to Pallvi for organizing this session. So now, I think Dipu has mentioned a lot of good key points here. So yes, in insurance world, agency is very, very important, and we have a huge agency task force. However, what is happening today? Financial services today is in the midst of significant transformation that has been accelerated by the COVID pandemic. Now, from my point of view, today, digitization plays very, very important role in our financial lives. And because I am from payments and rewards, I would like to say that payments and rewards and loyalty are in the epicenter of this whole transformation. Now, what do I mean by that is, first of all, the loyalty and rewards are not a single dimension thing. You know, today what is really required is how do we deliver that digital experience and how do we forge emotional connection, shared values. That is very, very important. How do we make our customers feel rewarded and appreciated and also have the emotional connection? Can we give them rewards which they can donate to their favorite charity? Do we have that social connection with our customers? Because reward is not no more about points and vouchers. It has to be a complete holistic program. And they also mentioned how can we also use their data to give them better points. So I want to also give you some context. So my role in Prudential is to manage Pulse. I'm a global head for payments and rewards from Pulse. So what is Pulse? So Pulse is our digital platform that delivers health and wealth ecosystem. And the only one focus we have is how do we make our customers healthier and wealthier. So it's a super app which brings health, wellness, protection, fitness, finance management, wealth management as a digital ecosystem. And I was listening to the previous session. I think it was from Chandra Shekhar from Milind from your organization. He says, "Oh,
Yes,
today
yes, Chandra was a part of my organization.
23 times a day they go to Facebook." How can we get our customers to come to us 23 times a day or more? So that's the fight. The fight is how do we get customers to engage more with us? And hence we started with this transformation journey to transform ourselves as an ecosystem. So for me, what is very important is how do we transform ourselves to deliver a habit forming product. Where there's an internal trigger within the customer that tells us, oh, every time I think of health, wellness, fitness, protection, lifestyle, nutrition, diet, wealth management, I think of innovation. And that's what I think it is very, very important to do in the today digitalization world is a good digital experience, frictionless journeys, emotional connections, and a health or a habit forming product. That's my take.
Yes. So yeah, quite interesting, thought-provoking views on that. I think that sets the ecosystem plays quite important as you highlighted, and we see a lot of super apps now coming up with the kind of omni-channel experience, trying to give solve various use cases on one single app. So yeah, that's the journey probably a lot of players are trying to take. So interesting. With that as a base, I think that also sets the base for the next question for Milind. So as we heard in even in the previous session, so Route Mobile is providing various communication related services across various channels, right? And it currently you are serving more from the enterprise or the B2B aspect of it, where you are probably serving the enterprises, MNOs, or other players, right? So we heard some interesting views from Dipu and Jitesh on the B2C aspect, like how to maintain the loyalty with the customer, direct customer. But I also want to understand from B2B perspective, have you seen any shift from your clients in terms of how to improve the customer experience? What are the new omni-channel experiences which or omni-channel requirements which are coming at your end? We'll come to the specific part on the payments, which I heard in the previous session, but first let's probably focus on the customer loyalty from an omni-channel and from perspective, and also from the B2B, how does the customer loyalty or rather the client loyalty is changing? Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks and good afternoon, everyone. It's always good to catch up with some of the esteemed industry colleagues and always share a point of view. Let me try and quickly break the question in two fronts. And I think Deepu has very lucidly put some stats across, and Jitesh has also given an experience in a B2C. Let me try and give a little bit more esoteric view as to what I believe, what we believe in loyalty, and then answer your specific question on B2B. I think for me personally, loyalty inherent as a definition means that somebody, whether it is a consumer, as you see in a B2C context, or an enterprise, should be willing to take a pain to continue buying a service or a product. I think for me, that is the ultimate definition of loyalty. Uh, if, and my personal example, if I am, say, a Garmin user or if I'm an iPhone user, if I wait 2 months to buy the latest iPhone, gray color, 256, whatever iPhone 12, 13, 14, whatever the number would come, and wait for 2 months, stand in a queue, take the first shipment at 5 in the morning, that for me is loyalty, right? Uh, Now cut that thought and move in the enterprise side, right? How do I ensure that no solution is perfect, no platform is perfect, no IT system is perfect in the world, right? We all someday or the other break. The issue is how fast do we recover from that situation? And during that recovery phase, how does a brand or an enterprise stand with you? How does a solution provider like us stand with you and resolve the problem shoulder to shoulder, fighting in the trench and not sitting in AC rooms to solve the problem, right? I think that's what differentiates loyalty into B2B space. Now, in our experience, we have seen that, especially in the area that we play, which is we help fundamentally brands or enterprises, be it Jitesh's company or Deepu's company, we help them communicate with their customers or end consumers, right? Uh, and I very carefully was listening to Jitesh that payments, reward, and loyalty, they are the of the overall experience that the customer experience to see it. I would very humbly like to submit to him a very strong fourth angle, which perhaps as marketeers, as leaders, we sometimes tend to not put enough weight on, which I feel digital transformations is now putting it across, which is the communication angle, right? Traditionally, we learned saying brand talks to customer, right? Thou shalt do this. This is my service manual. This is what you should do. Please read my terms and condition. Consumers today are not interested in talking, are not interested in being talked to. They are interested in conversing with the brand. They want to be heard, right? They want you to listen to them, right, and have a meaningful dialogue, right? So I think that journey of brands talking to a customer versus brand conversing with a customer is a very critical journey that we are experiencing in B2B, and as well as because we work with companies like similar companies as say a Bajaj or Jitesh's company, we see our partners also do the same, taking our help, right? So what then impacts is, and Dipu was so right in talking about personalization tech. It is a combination of four elements, right? Omni-channel, communicating across multiple channels to the consumer so that you can converse with him, and focus on a data layer, focus on automating those experiences, and third is recommending something specifically what the consumer wants based on the data analytics and the time and the journey within the automation space, right? Now, when these four things come seamlessly, there you could provide a payment convenience, you could provide or reward him for his longevity on your platform, or you could just say a simple thank you or a happy birthday to him because his purchase history, or his anniversary or a birthday, right? Now that entire suite then becomes very powerful for us to manage the classical NPS as what we would cater into the enterprise world, right? To succinctly put across, I think our continuous effort is to ensure how do we work with the enterprises and they find it is okay to bear the pain to work with us sometimes and still be very happy with what we start and fight a war with them, and ensure that our work with their end consumer remains world class. And that's what perhaps makes some of the enterprises stick with us very long in our journey in a B2B space.
Okay. Quite interesting. Thank you for that, Milind. So we touched upon some aspects on the payment experience. So coming back to you, Dipu, I like in the insurance business, typically it's like a step of multiple micro steps in terms of customer onboarding, or then probably the premium payments or the claims, and this payment is kind of one part of the entire customer journey. So want to understand from you that how relevant is payment experience vis-a-vis the other aspects of customer flow, customer journey, and how does payment specifically impact the loyalty of payment experience impact the loyalty. And another aspect is also with all these new instant payment platforms or the enhancements in the payment landscape, how were you able to leverage them well by has it helped in improving the customer loyalty from your segment perspective?
I think it's a very interesting question, Pallavi, in terms of how, a payment mechanism, can have an impact on customer loyalty. I think it's definitely interesting. And I just loved, the example that, Milind, shared initially, right? When he basically said that, when you're willing to wait in a queue for the latest version of iPhone, that's the definition of loyalty. That really touched a chord with me. I think that's a fantastic example. So taking a cue from that, in terms of how you can use payments to drive loyalty. See, Pallavi, there are two aspects, and you covered both. One is incoming payments. When customers make payments as an insurance premium payments, so that they can get policies from us, and the other is outgoing payments. When we make payments when customers, file or lodge a claim with us. So let me cover both these dimensions, one by one. Now, if you look at incoming payments, the point that you made, how have we been able to leverage, the entire change in the landscape, and it's been quite revolutionary, in terms of digitization of the payment landscape. I think, we've leveraged that to the hilt. Today, if you look at our percentage of cash or checks, it's come down dramatically. There's been a complete, explosion, in terms of the digital payments that we receive. And how it helps is, let's imagine, for example, a customer calls you up and says that, I just realized that, my policy is expiring today, and it's my motor insurance policy. I don't want to go on the road, without having this. Can I get my renewed policy quickly? We can literally tell him saying that, yeah, please hold on. And it's a renewal customer, right? So let's say everything has been done. We just tell him saying, hold on, I'm sending you a link, make the payment, and on the fly, I can give you a policy. You see, that's how, you can actually help the customer, at the time that he wants your service the most, by leveraging digital payments, and then ensuring that, you give him a wow service. And then he says, I just loved it. I just made a payment and I got my policy immediately. It just became seamless. So that's how, you can leverage payments to enhance loyalty. That's one aspect. Now let me come to the other aspect, on claims. Now, one thing we need to understand is that this is the moment of truth, as far as the insurance industry is concerned. Why do you buy an insurance policy? So that the company can come to your aid, when you're going through a tough time. And let's take again motor insurance, and let's, visualize a scenario whereby, let's say you crash your car, unfortunately. Now, what do? You call up the insurance company, and normally they would tell you that, okay, fine, let me locate the nearest surveyor. He'll have to come across to the site, examine the car, and then submit his report, and the whole process would kick in, right? It would take about days. So we wanted to change his entire experience and, convert it from days to minutes. And we were able to do that. And digital payments, plays a significant role there. So I'll tell you what happens now. One is, we were able to introduce AI and a tool called machine vision, by which what happens today is the customer doesn't have to call up a surveyor. He can take photographs of the car and submit them to us. Our AI engine will assess the images, convey the amount to him, as in the assessed amount to him, in a matter of minutes. And the customer gives his consent, and then we are able to, because of digital payments, make a payment to him. So a claim payment, which would take days, up to certain amounts, can now happen in 20 minutes. This would not have been possible, had digital payments not been there. And when you are able to go to the aid of the customer, like I said, whether it's an incoming payment via a premium or an outgoing payment via a claim, at the moment of truth, then you dramatically increase the customer's loyalty. And let me also tell you, extrapolating this, how digital payments can be used to enhance loyalty. Again, if you look at, as I said, the claim is the moment of truth. And insurance companies spend a lot of money on paying claims. If you look at the combined ratio of insurance companies in India, when I say combined ratio, the total expenses, that's the industry norm, or that's the industry term. It's 120, which means for every 100 rupees of premium that they receive, they pay out 120 rupees, of which a big chunk is claims, what they spend. But if you look at a lot of customers, they'll come and tell you that, they have had bad experiences in claims. I'm talking, from an industry perspective. But why is that? That's because when a customer comes to you for a claim, you need to first ferret out, the ones, where it's not. And digital payments there can help you minimize it, because cash can go to anyone, right? Whereas digital payment can actually go to the source. So that way, if you take a broader view, it can be completely used to revolutionize customer loyalty. So those are my 3 bits, in terms of how we can leverage payments to completely, revolutionize and increase, loyalty in insurance.
Yeah, totally agree, Dipu. I think that instant part of getting the claims or instant payments is something which is actually improving the customer experience a lot in terms of insurance and business. Right. Okay, taking that cue from there, so Jitesh, I would also like to understand from you, like as you in the previous answer, you mentioned that you are handling the loyalty portfolio as well as the payments portfolio, right? So typically, loyalty was considered as like dedicated loyalty platforms, or even giving a financial incentive, in terms of cashbacks or in terms of coupons, vouchers. But today probably customer experience is equally important, so I want to somewhere understand which one aspect is more important. Is it like the financial coupons or the financial benefits which the company provides in terms of loyalty, or is it more of the softer aspects around the, say, the seamless onboarding journey or the seamless other journey or interactions with the company? So which one is more important in your context, or is it both interlinked? Like, any thoughts on that?
Yes. So again, I think Dipu mentioned about inbound payments and making outbound claims. Right? So to me, the journey is holistic. It's not about one aspect and weighing how, if I just focus on this aspect, can I ignore the other aspect? I'm particular fond of this model called hook model. It's from very famous person called Mir Ayal, right? How we can reward user for every action, right? And how we can bring variability in their rewards, right? And then once a user comes to us, right, we get a user to engage to us, how quickly that user can do the desired action. Right? That's the digital experience and frictionless journey we speak of. So again, as I said, it's not one solution fit all approach. Let's focus on payments, right? So today in the insurance world, for the lack of better word, we can say it's a digital product or it's a finance. When I say digital product, what I really mean is a product which customer can apply online. We as an insurance company can underwrite online, and we can then issue the policy online. You know, in that 30 to 40 second journey, if you can do applying, like underwriting, and issuing. And today, successfully, we have launched a lot of digital products across all our markets. And today, the way we are evolving, they are, yes, we call them bite-sized products. They are easier to buy, easier to compare, easier to write, and then payments becomes very very important. And if you start thinking about all the countries in Asia and Africa, no two countries are similar. No two countries are similar from an end consumer point of view and from a regulatory point of view. They are all evolving, and the customer preferences are very different. Some countries can be just card country. You know, I have to pay using my card. Does not mean that in that country there is no UPI equivalent. There is, but that's the card country. In some countries, you would say they are evolving, might not see a credit card. Today, when you come to the digital world, digital wallets, some of those countries, really emerging countries like Myanmar, would they see credit card? And you could see globally that credit card adoptions are quite high. So what is very important is also to be able to process payment to the customer choice method. You know? How do you? It's not about cash anymore. It's not about. It's just about how many payment methods you have to support so that you get to deliver a payment method of customer choice. And as Deepu mentioned, what's really really important is the claim. How to ensure a speedier processing of the claim into the right account. That's the key, right? So it's both sides. How do you accept payment in a customer choice, and how do you make a payment with very little time, real time if possible, right? In the right account, because that's where you make a difference. Now, I see digital wallet adoption, right? Digital wallets adoption, no matter which country you are, is either the number one payment method or could be a number three payment method, at least in Asia and Africa. Right? And then loyalty also. It's no longer a physical card transaction I carry in my pocket, or it's no longer a physical voucher I carry in my pocket. And then today, the most successful loyalty program has to have three things: intersection of wallets, whether you call it as e-money wallet or a reward wallet. Because it is very, very important to 24 by 7. You certainly don't want to go to a shop to realize, oh, my voucher is at home, or my voucher was in email, and then you're struggling to find the email, and then you're holding the whole queue. You know, at that time, that voucher has given you a negative experience. Because of the voucher, you're holding the queue, or you cannot find the voucher, and then it's frustrated. So, how can you get 24 by 7 experience on e-vouchers, redemption histories? How can you redeem the voucher? And it requires similar security like e-vouchers. And then, is this loyalty moving in the young age by saying, I give you credit, I give you gaming credit, or maybe I issue you an NFT now? So how do you start engaging to those millennials also, so that payments, whether it's digital wallet or a crypto moving forward, and the intersection of reward wallet with AI, very, very important, because it is easy to issue a voucher and points, but if users are not using them, then it's of no value to you, right? You're just issuing so many points, you're thinking you're doing a great job, but then how do we also get AI to tell us the behavior analysis, right? What rewards are successful, what campaigns are successful, what really customer want, maybe what Milind said, how do you converse with them, right? How do you forge that emotional connection? So think payment, rewards, AI to me are hand in hand today.
Understood. Yeah. So totally interesting viewpoint. So broadly, you are suggesting that it's not about one payment method, but giving an options to of various payment methods to the customers, like, and let them choose whichever mode they want to, and also understanding their preferences in terms of the earning and burning, like which mechanism, or using AI to understand their preferences of how to give them rewards also, right?
Yeah,
Understood.
very
Yeah.
important.
Okay. So I think one last aspect probably I would also like to understand from you, Milind, is around measuring the customer loyalty, right? I think in last point also you mentioned about the NPS point. So typically we have seen that there are few matrices which are used, like say NPS or CSAT scores, or even customer lifetime value. Some companies use that. So how have you seen those matrices change over the time? Are they still significant? And is there a direct correlation of say these matrices with the business performance or the business decision KPIs which we typically a company tracks? So how do we correlate these loyalty matrices with the business KPIs?
I think all these matrices fall into place, and different organization can use all of it. If you personally ask me, I'm a greatest fan of word of mouth, right?
Right.
all along all along our consumption lives, and I'm sure Dipu or Jitesh would have also experienced this. You tend to buy products which your friends, family tend to recommend to you. Arey, go and have food in that restaurant. Arey, I'll bought this new product, it's nice. Arey nahi, Bajaj ka policy le lo, mera experience bahut acha raha hai. XYZ itna acha nahi hai, right? So these conversations are the one which drive consumption pattern as consumers, right? Um, so I personally believe word of mouth, which indirectly today in a very technical term can be said as NPS. I personally believe, I think that's the best part. If your CSAT is not good, if your CSAT is not good, you'll not spend more with that brand. And obviously, if your CSAT is good, if you're spending more with that brand, then perhaps you will talk more about that brand to uh, your friends, family, and thereby influence kind of a active advocacy about that brand, right? Personally, I'm a great fan of NPS, but yeah, of course, organizations tend to use multiple of these matrices. So I think, yeah, so that's my view as to which perhaps best justifies a right kind of an investment. I think one point which I think Jitesh made, I just loved it, right? And he used that word, frictionless journey, right? And he's so right that uh, at the end of the day, we are either service providers or merchandise product providers, right? Which we sell to end consumer, right? Now, fundamentally, that end consumer interacts with the product or a service, and that interaction is about the promise of the product or a service, the delivery of the product and the service, and how he interacts with that product or service across the life cycle, right? Which means how somebody sold it to him, how that brand engaged with him, and how the brand solved a customer care problem with him, right? And payment becomes extremely crucial because that's the entry point of that relationship, right? And especially if it's an insurance product, which is, at least I assume, if it's a health insurance, if it's a 1 year long life cycle product minimum, then you enter 1 year back, you make the payment, and then you will go back and talk to that brand hopefully 1 year down the line. So in that journey, payment becomes very, very crucial, right? uh, I think our take to the market and our take to the future is that payments in itself, digital payment in itself, is a solved problem in the world. Some countries better, some less. What I mean is credit card, debit card, UPIs, bank wallets, operator wallet. You go to Africa, Safaricom was doing M-Pesa 15, 20 years ago. You go to Colombia, you have bank wallets popular today. You in India, you have UPI, which is driving the change, right? Which even made us surpass China. So I think payment in isolation is a solved problem, good, bad, ugly, but it's by and large a solved problem. Or people at least know, regulators know, banks know what needs to be done to increase the adoption. I think similarly, communication is also a solved problem, right? People know how to talk to the customer. You can call them, you can text them, you can WhatsApp them, you can email them, etc., right? So that's a solved problem. What is not solved is an intersection of the two, which means, and I think it was Dipu who mentioned that they sent a link to the consumer to make the payment, right? Now, how do we ensure that that link is getting passed during the conversation? And within that conversation experience, the consumer just clicks one fat thumb and boom, the payment is done, right? That is what will make the difference, right? And that's the reason what we are trying to solve as professionals, and some of these are missions, right? Um, that how do we really ensure that our partner enterprises end customer finds payment one click, or just click on it and boom, you buy it, right? And I think that's the journey, and I do believe that frictionless journey in payments will add massive to the element of customer loyalty in the long run.
Right. Yeah, Milind, I think that was a very good, probably a last thoughts on that there is an intersection which is more important rather than probably looking at the payments problem or the customer experience problem in isolation. It's more about like probably the intersections and probably looking at these problems in consolidation rather than in an isolation manner. So I think that brings us to the almost last minute, as MC has just mentioned. So probably if all of you can give your probably 1 minute last concluding thoughts on where do you see the future going forward in terms of what kind of things can come up in terms of loyalty or payment experience. Any concluding thoughts from each of you? Probably 30 seconds to 1 minute maximum. Yeah, sure. If
Maybe I start first, so I
Sure.
hold the time away from you.
You can steal the show. You can steal the show, Jitesh.
Yeah, let's do it now. Yeah. So to me, what's very important is that although Milind said payment is a solved problem, right? I mean, but today I strongly believe a lot more innovations happening in payment. You think in Singapore, I'm based out of Singapore, both the UPI equivalent are connected. First is connected to UPI. If I want, I can send Milind money on his mobile number just in 30 seconds sitting from his right. And where do I see this is how those innovations drive. How those innovation drive those intersection points. Let's put it this way, right, as a concluding thought. Is all those integration between various real-time ways of various countries. And then even China has thought of digital yuan. Reserve Bank of India has started putting some things, and then how that intersect with the real-time ways. Right? And then to me, in future, digital bank currencies are not just digital version of the fiat currency, they're smart currencies. Right? And as an insurance person, can I use it as an anti-money laundering tool? Can I use their offline capability to send my claims in a country where there is a very poor connection? Right? Can I use that and work with the regulator to drive the financial inclusion or insurance inclusion? And then how do we reward everybody? So I think that's for me is very, very important, and I hope payments evolve, and then we deliver more intersection journeys and stories to our customers. Yeah.
Sure. Interesting. So, Dipu, if you would like to give any concluding thoughts on that. I'm not sure if
I don't know if he's hearing it out.
Yeah.
let me steal the show. Let me steal the show in absence of you not able to hear it, and let's give me my 2 cents, which is
Right.
since it's a payment topic, um, I think just one simple thought: make conversational or communications commerce. That's the future.
Great. I think that was a great conclusion, I guess. So if I understand, so it's like payment, there is a scope of improvement and there is then further scope of intersections between payment and experience piece and making it frictionless. That's the kind of summary we are probably uh, which we can probably conclude with. If you would like to add anything over as a concluding remarks. No, not really. So, no issues. So, I think that was an interesting conversation on the topic. And with that, I'll hand it back to the MC, Malik.